Okay, we are live on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
exciting.
Welcome back to another episode of After Hours Live. This week, I am joined by Mike Bair, who's one of my dear friends who also has to deal with me and my scheduling snafus. I appreciate you. Mike, tell everybody who you are. Like you have such an extensive background, so make sure you cover what you did and make sure you cover what you are doing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm Michael Bair. I am a fractional consultant and leader for customer experience. I help founders build customer experiences that they're proud of and that their customers love. I've been doing that for a year now. Part of that, I was senior vice president at Figs, where I ran customer experience and B2B sales. Prior to that, I ran customer success for a big vertical SaaS company called Service Titan. And then had a couple stints in startups in the energy space and started out my career in banking. But yeah, love customers, love customer experience, customer success. So really excited to chat more with you about it.
Yeah. Well, this episode, so you guys should also know that Michael has been on an episode already
Mhm.
of Above the Fold.
Yeah.
And we, at the time you were at Figs, we
Hmm.
like deep dived into like Figs and we deep dived into things. And then now you're doing like the fractional
Yeah.
consulting thing, which I am also doing the fractional consulting thing, a
Yeah.
little bit more like CX marketing agency, as we were
Yeah.
talking about off stage. But um, want like honestly today I really want to talk about like B2B and D2C CX because I think that that's where like me and Mike are always texting. We're always like people have really high expectations of B2B CX and D2C CX is a really different.
Yeah.
Um let's just start there. Who do you think this is going to be hot?
Hmm.
Who's worse at customer experience right now? B2B SaaS companies or D2C brands?
B2B SaaS companies by like a
Dude,
landslide.
it you know what baffles me? When it's also the CX companies
Hmm.
that are bad at
Yeah. Yeah. They're
it.
probably some of the worst, actually.
Right? Like, how are you gonna slang CX
Yeah.
and be terrible at CX?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of those companies, like, they just kind of live and die by their product. And if they feel like their product is so great, they really don't really think about the experience and don't really think about the buyer's journeys. Those are usually very sales led organizations, or either product led or sales led, typically in the B2B space, which doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for customer experience. When I was at Service Titan, I think, when I was there, we had like 1,500 employees. Less than 100 were in customer success or customer experience, and most of that was
Yeah.
customer success. I think there was like a team of 5 people that were technically working customer experience. Yeah, I think it's just, yeah, if you end up being very product led or very sales led, the experience pieces don't come as obvious to you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's just like so funny though, because I came into D2C with that like B2B background and really focusing on like user experience and user journey.
Mhm.
And it was taken like really well, like thinking about like things and like those philosophies. But what's so interesting, I'm actually like working on like some B2B clients now. Like I've just not completely, like I've just like doing B2B as well. And I missed it. I actually missed it. And now I have this thing where it's like I kind of want to I want to change the game in B2B because like I just think it's so crappy when you have a terrible experience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, some of them. It's
Yeah.
also, in the B2C world, particularly in direct consumer e-commerce, the experience is way more of the the kind of total success of the company. Whereas in, I think, B2B, the product is going to lead a lot more of that. Like, you buy shampoo, or you buy deodorant, or you buy a pair of shoes online, the experience is like a pretty big part of that product life cycle. It's not that there's not a million and one features of a deodorant. It's just not as serious.
Yeah.
Whereas B2B, some of the products are just way more complex, way more feature rich. You're willing to tolerate some level of poor experience because the product is so darn good.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like you are, it's because it is so good. But what do you think that, okay, so let me ask you this, like, and it's kind of two-parter, but like,
Mhm.
what do you think one CX play a D2C brand should steal from B2B and then vice versa? Like, where do you think B2B should steal from D2C?
Oh, I think the latter one's probably easier first,
Yeah.
is brand. Most B2B companies really don't care about their brand. They really don't think about brand. I would say some of them think about like advocacy work, which is like references, referrals, white papers, um, testimonials. But that's not brand. It's sometimes those things are the output of brand. But I think there's some, so there are some good examples of B2B companies that really do care about brand. They're trying to build a community. They're trying to build a name,
Hmm.
build loyalty outside of just the stickiness of the product, but really be known um, as something beyond that. I'll use my service site and experience a lot because I feel like I learned a lot there. It's also an incredible company, but the brand of that company was clearly for the customers. Like they were there
Hmm.
to celebrate um, the home services professionals. And that was like very clear. It was very cultural. It definitely was like kind of front and center. I think that became very, very clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think more B2B companies, they could build a brand if they wanted to. So that's the one that sticks out to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, on the flip side, I would say, yeah, it's just probably being as thoughtful about product as B2B companies are for B2C companies. I think being product led is natural in B2B, but just not as natural in B2C. I think sometimes
Yeah.
they kind of see an opportunity to market, they see a big TAM, they see a problem they solve, and then maybe they fall in love with that original idea of that problem that they want to solve, but they never really think about the evolution of that product. How does it deliver more value? What are the adjacent products that could like build onto that core experience? Like, when B2B companies go multi-product, it's not like this other product is like completely different than the first. It's always very adjacent.
Yeah.
Whereas B2C companies, sometimes those jumps are um, a little bit more unnatural. What
Yeah.
do you,
Yeah.
what do
I mean, no, I totally
you
agree with you. I do agree with you. I think what's really interesting, and I think of like our line of work, like you and I like work with a lot of like founders and C levels to like really try to reshape their CX, right? And like in the perspectives that we both have. Like you have such a customer success like background. And I think that's like such a really dope thing for you. But and then I have like very like the support or the product marketing side. So like I think we both have the same opinions, you know but I agree with you. I think what's interesting is that I work with a lot of founders, and like where I really work is like coming to market, like go to market strategies or at a scaling and growth stage, right? Like less like enterprise, like more in like that sweet spot. And what I find so interesting about just in the D2C world with founders like who are coming onto market is like I have this product, it's gonna change the world, it's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be amazing. And then I always challenge them and I'm like, okay, so once we start learning your customer, what about your roadmap after that? Like what are you planning to do after that? And like and then and then on the other side of it too is like I see so much at that growth stage, at that go to market stage of like I need to acquire, I need to acquire, I need to acquire.
Mhm.
And then like it's kind of like shape shifts a little bit of like I need to acquire, and then it becomes so much about revenue, and then they
Yeah,
forget about the product.
yeah,
And then they start like, I wouldn't say everybody, but I do see a lot of brands taking shortcuts on like the production of it because it's like better margins, like if I work with this manufacturer, do these things. And then as you've learned your customer in those beginning stages, it's value, like you were so product led, you were this, you were that. And then as you go and grow and scale, like I've just seen brands like really lose touch with like putting the customer first and being product led in general.
yeah. I mean, one of the hardest parts about working in B2C is like, big B2C businesses can't have hundreds of customers or thousands of customers or even tens of thousands of customers. They literally have to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions or tens of millions of
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah.
B2B companies don't have that. Like, yeah, you have the Bill.coms of the world that have some crazy, like tens of thousands of customers. But most big SaaS companies, B2B companies, like their ACVs are just so big that, like, yeah, having hundreds or thousands of customers is a great business.
Yeah.
So you just naturally, I think, just stay closer. When you only have 800 customers, it's a lot easier to stay closer to the customer than it is when you have 800,000 or 8 million.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, knowing those people as something more than just a plot on a cohort analysis or, a line on a chart, but actually knowing the logo, knowing the founder, especially like B2B companies also, again, this is more SaaS, but like they're usually founder-led sales. They did the first 50, 100, 200 sales themselves. They just know the customers really well. Doesn't mean over time they don't lose that connection to it. But yeah, in e-commerce and B2C, they're just not as connected because the scale is just so much bigger.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You've already answered this, but if there's anything else to like add, because I was actually going to ask you, like, what do you think is harder, retaining a subscription box customer or retaining an enterprise SaaS client with a 6-figure contract?
I mean, statistically, it would be subscription B2C.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because percentage wise, yeah, they churn just way more. I mean, when I was at Service Titan, we had the goal was 0 churn on the enterprise team. Like you could not lose a single customer. I mean, these were also just like massive contracts, massive deals. And so, yeah, 0 churn is like an expectation at the enterprise SaaS level. But yeah, in B2C subscription, first purchase churn could be 50, 60, 70%, which is just like wild. But yeah, again, very different CAC profiles. You're not investing years into acquiring a customer. You're not investing, tens of thousands of dollars into acquiring customers. I would say they're both hard, but for different reasons. But yeah,
Totally.
B2C subscription is hard.
I mean, totally, because it's like people can churn out in 30 days. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I just signed up for like that deal. And then where it's like with software, you're either signing like a 6-month, a year contract, whatever it is,
There's way more stickiness.
Yeah. But I will say though, I did, and maybe this job taught me enough about like subscription stuff is like, I worked in B2B, like a cybersecurity ed tech platform.
Okay.
And so it was like monthly subscriptions, right? And which was a very different model from like the beginning days of like me and like fintech and like travel tech, where it's like contracts, right? I did learn, one of the biggest things that I learned that I took with like subscription based is building community and loyalty and like really building out like those journeys for your customer to like want to stay. Like, I mean, I think we know this in like retention. We talk about this all the time, right? It's like, okay, well, you sign up for the customer. How do you nurture them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the same philosophies in something that's like a monthly subscription or converting somebody to a yearly. It's like you need to nurture them and build that community to build that loyalty.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's like necessarily harder. I would say it's like almost the same philosophies, it's just very different.
Yeah. Yeah, they're different motions as well. Like one of the big things that B2C has that B2B doesn't really have is like word of mouth. Like one of the things that was a big tailwind for Figs was when we were selling new products, when we had new styles, new colors that would come out customers wanted to be that first person to walk onto their, Fig sells to healthcare professionals. And so you want to be the first person to walk on the floor or into your clinic wearing the new Figs. And then everyone asks you what they are. And it's like, oh, when did these come out? And so there's this built-in community, built-in virality that happens. People want to talk about the clothes they're wearing, the B2C products they buy.
Yeah.
No one's sitting around talking about enterprise SaaS to their friends and family. Yes, you do get a lot of kind of word of mouth and like communities and stuff. And I think this is why in B2B, this is more on the marketing side, but like B2B, that's why it's so important to understand like where do your customers talk about this type of thing? Is it in like groups like YPO? Is it in like agency worlds? Like find those groups so you can insert yourselves into them. But it's just not as natural. One of the other like analogs, like I worked in energy for a long period of time over 2 stints at 2 different startups, and net promoter scores for energy companies, like if you had a positive NPS, that was good, because like you got so many NPS responses back where the person would be like, I don't sit around talking to my friends and family about my energy. So it's like if you sell shoes, if you sell skincare, if you sell nail products, like any of that kind of stuff, people just naturally are talking about that a lot more than they're talking about the software that they use to power their businesses.
Yeah, totally. I mean, totally, right? Like, I know it's still very B2C. Like the software that I do talk about is like, and just also hack for you as you're on this consulting
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
I use this tool called Fixer, Fyxer.
Okay.
Got hit with a bunch of ads on it. Actually, life changing, not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like what it does is goes into my email, categorizes emails, and then drafts emails and like starts learning my tone. Doesn't send
Wow.
anything, but
Yeah.
like will draft them. And like I've really like sped up like responding
Yeah.
to emails quicker.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely
Talking about
are.
that.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
definitely are some Superhuman,
Yeah.
Notion, Canva. Like there are tons of B2B companies that have found a B2C like motion and that powered their business to Figma to incredible heights.
But
Not
it's
that,
not like you're not talking about PG&E,
no,
or like my husband works for a company called Locust View. We're not talking about Locust View today. You
no,
know what
no,
I mean?
right. Like it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious about? Because the whole reason we started this conversation and why it's so B2B heavy and like talking about CX in it is I think that in a world where we're on the D2C side, I think that like we have very high expectations for
Yeah.
like the software companies that we use. But
The worst, we're the worst customers.
we're absolutely the fucking worst customers,
Yeah.
dude. But I do think, okay, we are the worst customers. And I do think we do have high expectations on CX. But like from your point of view of leading customer success teams
Yeah.
that like sales and revenue and like very like relationship driven, what's one thing that you wish that like we would know about the structure within these like CS like orgs within
Yeah,
B2B?
I mean, what's been prevalent for a long time, but like is very prevalent over the last 12 to 24 months is just like the increasing push to make customer success teams very revenue driving.
Mm-hmm.
When customer success was coming up like 10, not 10, 20, 25 years ago, it was very much like kind of an evolution of account management. It was very relationship driven. Depending on the complexity of the software, it was a lot more focused on adoption and feature and education. And just like as things have evolved and businesses have become tighter, and particularly like what's happened over the last year or two with the economy, they've just become a lot more commercially motioned. So
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like every time you talk to your customer success manager, they're trying to get you to renew early, or they're trying to upsell or cross sell you into new products, they are, because this is the motion that they're being pushed into, and
Mm-hmm.
it comes at the cost of like being developing the relationship with the person, really understanding their use cases, really understanding what features, what customizations would help them use the software better and deliver more value to you. It's certainly like something like when I work with clients, it's something I kind of like try to really not push against, but just ensure that we're finding the right balance, because I do think like once you kind of push too far on one side where all of your communications, or just the majority of your communications, start being very commercially oriented, you really can lose that relationship with that customer. And from
Yeah.
that point forward, you're just like support to them. You just know, like, I could ask this person, but they're probably gonna end up asking me about buying more. So do I really want to do that?
Yeah.
To understand that like customer success managers usually get into that line of work because they do want to help customers. They want to help them realize more value from the software, and they're being increasingly pushed to do more commercial work.
I know. Well, I mean, most of the time CS teams like fall under like revenue or like CROs, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because the way they think about it is it's part of the go to market life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the retention piece of it. And I do think they should own retention. I definitely think like customer success teams should own GRR and NRR. Now, should that be the sole drivers of their day to day? No, but I
Yeah.
think for a lot of companies it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're also the relationship people. They're the people that are like supposed to nurture, right? And so it should be a natural progression
Yeah.
of like feeling like, okay, well, if I want to use this new feature of like whatever software you're my CSM
Yeah.
from, like I should have a really strong relationship with you where I really do trust you,
Yeah.
that like I would be inclined to. But I've also encountered really shitty CSMs like who really treat me like they're more of like an account manager rather
Mhm.
than like a business partner. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
There's a big
I
difference between customer success and account management. Um,
absolutely,
and I think for most
right?
people, you can tell the difference when you're talking to those two different people. And bigger companies usually have those roles very split out. Um, so it's easy to tell what that person's motivations are.
Yeah, I mean, totally. But I mean, I've also encountered people where I'm like, you probably shouldn't be in that field. You should not be in that line of work. I'm just putting
Yeah.
that out there.
Yeah.
But what, in your opinion, okay, so like leading, like, yes, I know we're talking about like the revenue part, but like what makes a good customer success manager? Like, what do you think, like, forget having to earn revenue? Like, what makes somebody really good at being a customer success manager and also like that being the right job for that type of person?
Yeah. I think it's two things. The first is they know the product cold. This is like
Hmm.
the thing I teach everyone. Like, people are like, I want, they want to be a trusted advisor. They want to be a business partner. I'm like, they want all of those things, but the thing they want more than anything is to know that you know the product better than anyone. And when they ask you a question, you can explain it to them. And so that means knowing every single feature, every single adoption play. If there's customization within, and like what feature gates they have access to, what are the use cases for those. I think just knowing the product cold is like the most important part of being a great customer success manager. And then if you're also a really good communicator, meaning you can present features well, you can, perform proper discovery to understand if there are like upsell, cross-sell opportunities for new markets, new points of contact, new decision makers, like all that stuff is very, very valuable. But knowing the product up and down, in and out, like that is what someone needs more than anything. So that's the first thing I look for when I interview customer success managers is how much desire do they have to be a strong technical expert on the product.
Yeah. And then on the other side of like CX in B2B, right? Like
Mhm.
there's the support side, like product support side or community
Yeah,
support side, right? Like I mean, I don't know, I might be speaking for myself here, but like I definitely got into those roles because I was just like didn't I wanted to work in startups and like wanted to do the things, but then that led me into like
yeah,
product marketing, right?
yeah.
And I'm curious, like, just because you've led both sides of these things across many different industries, like, what do you think a good person in customer support on the B2B side is made of? Like, what do you think that career choice is good for?
Yeah, they're usually much earlier stage than customer success
Hmm.
managers. Like usually customer success managers, depending on like what segment of customers they're going to work with, are going to have anywhere from a couple years of experience to maybe having 10, 20 years of experience. So I think of like great customer support, customer experience frontline people more in potential than in experience. And so
Hmm.
maybe I've said this to you before, but like one of the things I learned early on in my career was to hire people with PhDs,
Hmm.
passionate, hungry, and driven. And so yeah, I look
Hmm.
for people that are like very motivated, very intrinsically driven, very passionate about the brand, about the product, about the mission. Want to like be involved. I think particularly in startups, you get a lot of this, like people that want to be involved in startups. Maybe there's a specific kind of vertical or segment that they're interested in. And yeah, ideally those people come in, they learn a ton about the product, they learn a ton about the customer, and then you can place those people in other places in the organization, like product marketing,
Yes.
operations, sales, all kind of places.
Yeah.
But I think coming in and learning the product and learning the customer is the two most important things for anyone coming into a new company, no matter what the company is.
Yeah. I was just going to say, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the PhD philosophy, you're gonna kill me when I say this, but I think of it of like more of like the A player, B player, C
Yeah,
player thing.
yeah,
You know, did work for Mr. Beast, so there's
yeah,
that. But I agree with you. I mean, even like before the call, before we got on, like I was even saying that I just hired like 3 new people for like my for Open Late, right?
yeah,
And the biggest thing that I was looking for, it's like I don't care if you don't know what you don't know, like maybe you had a support role or maybe you had this or you did something outside of it. What I care about, are you driven? Are you hungry? Are you ambitious?
yeah,
That's all that matters. And I think to your point about like that applies for like any career.
yeah,
But this can be hot take. Babe, this can be a big hot take. I will tell you that like just being in leadership positions, I've come across so many people in like the last like 5, 7 years then I'm like, oh, you just want a job to have a job. Like, you're not really like hungry to
Yeah.
be the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's places for operators like that, absolutely. But it's like, I don't know, something has really shifted in like and I'm not saying your job, like maybe it's a millennial thing for us, I don't know, but like
Yeah.
I'm not saying your job is like your end all be all, but I'm just the type of person that I love what I do.
Yeah.
Like I love building so much and like this is my hobby in a way. Like sadly, and I'm not expecting everybody to be like that, but I think there's like this been weird like general laziness of like just operators in any industry lately and they're like I don't know. I don't like there's no really questioned here. It's just like it's a frustration that I have found in
Yeah.
hiring people. That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Look, I think it's like one of the hardest parts, or one of the hardest things to screen for. Certainly, like just looking at a resume, but also like just interviewing people and to really understand like where do their motivations come from. To your point, is it just to have a job? Is it just for the paycheck? Are they actually invested in the mission? Do they actually care about customers? Do they really care about this product? Do they really like what is in there? I'm with you. I think the last 5 years have
Yeah,
really like changed how people evaluate opportunities. I largely think there's a significant portion of the U.S. working population that now feels like employers rent their talents from them and they rent a paycheck from them, and that is
yeah,
all it is. And we are just renter behavior. And I would say that is as much a fault of how employers have treated employees
absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
recently as it is maybe cultural changes in amid people. But for every story you read about someone who's working 2 or 3 jobs at a time and collecting multiple paychecks, I can tell you just as many stories of people that have laid off people with 1 day's notice, fired hundreds of people with a pre-recorded Zoom meeting, and no severance. I think good employers are hard to find just as much as good employees.
totally. I mean, absolutely. I wouldn't say that I would not say that I've had like terrible employers. I have had some terrible employers. I'm going to be honest with you,
Mhm.
right? Completely have felt that. Like, I mean, dude, I've like lived at like a startup before where like I came in. This is actually a really funny story. So I'm going to like, and we have time. So I'm going to share
Yeah.
this. I came into this company. And I was so excited about it. I like left another company to go to this company. I was so excited about it. Came in like straight bamboozled. Okay. Like absolutely bamboozled on what the
Yeah.
product actually does
Yeah.
and I was head of customer experience, so I like led like the customer support team for this product. And well, by product, I don't mean D2C, I mean like SaaS. Okay. And I come in and I learn that the back end is like basically run by BPO, like a BPO, and they go and like get like sensitive information to and are using like scrapers,
Mm.
internet scrapers to get like information to then bleed it into like their software. Like, but on the front end it was like really pretty, but the back end was really like just this manual human thing. But
Yeah.
like ain't nobody told me that in the interview
Yeah.
process. And as soon as I came in, I wanted to leave. So, like, it's not even just like the employer being bad
Yeah.
to you,
Yeah.
but also like what the product is and
Mhm.
your ethos and your values and your mission. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know. I just that memory sticks with me so much. And like when I think about everything that I'm trying to build between like Open Late and like eventually like my brand, like my mission and values, I'm so like, let's be collaborative, let's be
Yeah.
transparent, let's like
Yeah.
you're resourceful, like all these things, and just because I've like had so many bad experiences, but I'm
Yeah.
still I don't know, it hasn't jaded me yet is my
Yeah.
point. But I will
Yeah.
what jaded me is working for corporate America. That has jaded me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky enough I've not had that kind of situation. But I mean, on the flip side, like the last 4 employers I've had have been incredible. They're not without faults, like any job. But if I were to like soberly like think back on all four of like the last four I've had for basically the last like 15 years, they've been great. A couple of them were like life-changing experience. Some of my best
Totally.
friends still work there. They were, yeah, I mean, they're again, everything is not perfect. It never is, but I do look back on like the really thing. I'm like, what made those companies different? And I try to like really think about that as I evaluate future opportunities. But I think one of the big things I learned coming out of those is all 4 of those I got from working with previous people. So like they were kind of built on each other.
Yeah.
Opportunities. So I knew multiple people at those companies before I ever worked there. And I think that really helped because I was able to go to those people and ask them for the reality of what it's like to work there. And so just, my expectations were much more realistic going into them. So that's not a benefit that everyone has, but I think when you can, being able to go and do your own back channels is very
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was actually one thing I really learned before my transition out of SaaS and into Feastables. Like Feastables, like there was nobody to ask. So like I just made like Jim, our old CEO, like have several coffees with me to be like, what's the real dude? But one of the things when I was like in my job search, and like anybody listening to this, like if you are in your job search, like and you get a job offer or you're in the interview process, like do your homework, be resourceful, like no matter what stages that you're in at that. And like, then once you get the offer, right, go and try to do those back channel things. There's nothing wrong with networking and like asking people questions. If a company has nothing to hide, like people are going to be like super satisfied with it and happy. Also, I mean, Glassdoor used to be okay. I will say Reddit threads, really life-changing. But like you can even do like searching on LinkedIn, right? Like and see,
find
like
the person who did your job previously. Like that's one of the most valuable thing. Like especially if it's like a one-of-one job, like just go find the person who did your job before.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with like reaching out. The worst that happens, they don't respond to you. That's literally it, right?
Probably what will happen. But if they do, you'll get a very honest take. I mean, I've kind of thought about like, companies ask for references. Do you want my old bosses? Okay, let me talk to the people who used to have my job. Like those are basically the exact same thing. So it's on you to do the research. And I think when you're younger in your career, particularly when you work at startups, it's really hard because sometimes that stuff just doesn't exist. But as you get more and more serious, and I would say, at this point in my career, I've kind of told people, I don't think I would ever go work for like a cold company again. Like I would have to know multiple people there. I probably would need to have like friends that work there to be able to do it again, just because I have too much on the line at this point. And I've just found it to be extremely more rewarding when I'm friends with people there. Like I really want to work with people I really like, and those are usually friends. So gonna try to hold myself to that if I can.
This is kind of going off a little bit, but like I get asked this a lot, like if I enjoy like doing consulting and like fractional stuff. And I'm curious on like I mean, obviously like you and I talk about it, but we haven't like caught up in a while, right? Like have you enjoyed going the fractional consulting route? And anybody who's listening in and thinking about, because I get approached a lot about like, hey, I'm thinking about being a freelancer or doing these things, and I like always try to offer advice, but I'm curious if you have any advice.
I would imagine it's probably different for every single person. I did this after years of considering it. So I had been doing a little bit of consulting on the side for, going on like 5 or 6 years, always in like small amounts, but had really enjoyed like the aspect of just doing the work. And that's, usually what I was doing kind of on the side. And so, I'd been leading up to it for a while, hard considering it for months. It was almost like I just needed to kind of make the decision. I remember I talked to a friend who had been doing it for a decade, and I was having the conversation with her again, and she's like, Mike, we've literally talked about this like multiple times. And I think that was like, I remember walking and having this conversation with her, and and I was like, I just need to do this. And so, it really worked out back in 2024 that if the timing was right, I could leave Figs with months of advance notice. And so it worked out really good timing. I love it. I love the clients I get to work with. I get to be pretty choosy. I have a couple that I really just like. I would work there. I just really like the people that work there. I mainly do the work. I don't really like spend on the time doing Cooper reports and some of the other boring stuff that I just did not enjoy in corporate life. It is also very humbling. And if you don't like selling yourself, if you don't like selling, period, like it's going to be really hard for you because that's all it is. I kind of tell people, I'm like, I have never sourced a single deal. I've never sourced a single cold deal. All all of my client work comes from previous relationships, from networking. Like, if you think you're just gonna be able to run, Instagram ads or LinkedIn sales campaign, hopefully some people can figure that out. I've never figured that out. And so,
I've never figured it out either.
you have to figure out how to network and sell yourself. So that part is very humbling, but,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pros and cons to it. But the biggest pro for me is just the opportunity to just do the work versus, kind of some of the other things that go along with being part of a full-time company.
Yeah. I think that the other thing that you said too is like you get to work with like really cool people,
Yeah.
right? Like same for me. Like I actually work with 3 brands, 3 of my fractional brands. They're all kind of in the same umbrella,
Yeah.
like different founders and stuff, but they're like all like the same. It's really fun and interesting. But I love them so much. Like one of them, I've like been working with them for 2 years, and I've watched them like go from just me and the CEO
Yeah.
to like 10 people, and it's just been really like it's been really awesome. And then but my point is like I think that's the cool thing about it is like you get to like really choose the
Hmm.
people that you want to work with. And I've like denied business and where I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but vibes are off. But
Yeah.
red
Yeah.
flags just somewhere in the way, you know?
Yeah. I have this quote I looked over here. It was like advice that David Letterman gave to Jerry Seinfeld before he started the Seinfeld show. The quote is, "Make sure you fail doing exactly what you want to do."
Yeah.
Because, as Letterman kind of goes on to say, he's like they're probably going to fire you anyway, so you might as well do exactly what you want to do. And so my version of that is I really wanted to work with brands that I believed cared about customers and cared about customer experience. And so that's like kind of the very first thing I read for is like, does this person actually want to improve their customer experience? Do they actually want to improve their product because they care about customers? If so, great, I'm on board. I'm on board to help you. But yeah, I think that's and again, I've been lucky. Like the companies I've worked for, especially over the last 15 years, have largely been that, and I've been able to like see how that does make a meaningful difference in the business's outcomes.
Yeah, totally. I think it's also the humbling part of it is when you work in this work, you normally have like are so into the brand and like and part of that team. And it's
Yeah.
like you have like a lot of access. And I think you have to like kind of demand access as like a consultant in a way. And I'm not saying like, oh my God, I want to have like admin access to like everything, right? What I'm saying is like you have to demand access in order to actually like develop like the right type of like metrics and ROI for
Yeah.
yourself. Cause like what see people fall into traps on, cause like even on the brand side, I've worked with consultants, right? And then it's like very much advising, but like you
Mhm.
can't, they're not really doing, right? And
Yeah.
so then like eventually their ROI kind of like runs out because it's like, that's really cute that you advised me on that, but like you're not doing it for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess like maybe less humbling, but like more advice to anybody like trying to like go into this is really get to know your analytics for your client, like what you're delivering to them, so you can constantly like prove a ROI, right?
Yeah.
But also just like so you are always constantly evolving
Yeah.
to like you're setting KPIs and metrics for yourself in
Yeah.
like the work that you're doing.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No notes.
The execution, the implementation is always like the follow along. If you do proper discovery, if you come up with recommendations, the very next question you're going to get is, great, can you implement them? Can you execute them?
Yeah.
If you can't, and because you don't have access or because of some other reason, you've got to solve that, because otherwise the experience is over. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I have a client now that I've been working with since the day I decided to go full time, fractional, largely because I actually created things for them. I created I onboarded their AI agent. I rewrote their quality assurance program. I redrafted their whole org structure, um, with other people, of course. Like none of the stuff do I do in a vacuum by myself. But like, if you can't actually like lead those projects and like put your keys to the key, put your fingers to the keyboard and actually like write scripts, write prompts, your utilities can be diminished.
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to be able to like execute, like be such an expert in it to feel comfortable in it. And you're always learning. Like there is every single day I'm still learning something new because I like I'm working with like across different types of clients, right?
Mhm.
But like be humble enough that it's like you don't know
Yeah.
everything all the
Yeah.
time, you
I think
know?
it's one of the exciting things is someday I imagine I will go back full time somewhere.
Yeah.
And if that's 2 years, 3 years from now, I have no idea. But by that point, I will have worked with dozens of companies, and
Hmm.
have gotten to see just like, I was lucky enough to spend the first 20 years of my career with 5 companies, which is great. But I'll spend the next, if it's 3 or 4 with like a dozen companies. And so you just get like a really wide breadth of experience, not as deep by any means. But you learn a lot more about kind of these segments of B2C and B2B that you just probably wouldn't if you were working full time somewhere for years.
Totally. I totally agree with you. I think that's like also the craving of wanting to learn is
Yeah,
like why I like started it. But like I agree with you. I mean, that was actually like just in this moment of talking about this, right? It's like, so I left B2B and then I came into e-commerce, and like I didn't want to just be known for one brand. I wanted to be known for like things that I could do
yeah,
like I could constantly duplicate it across several brands. And the fast track for me was to fall into like the fractional like agency type of work. I
mhm,
never meant to start an agency, but like here we are.
yeah,
But that's the story for another day.
yeah,
I meant to just be Jess, but that was Michael and I's last conversation was like, I just want to be Jess.
yeah,
Not no.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
um
on the flip side, I had the opposite. When I left over a year ago, I really thought I was going to build an agency. I thought I wanted to start a customer experience agency, and then I got like 6 months into it, and I was like, I kind of really like doing this on my own.
yeah.
I really like doing the work. Most of the teams that I work with, because of the segment that I serve, like I usually work with e-commerce companies over 50 million in revenue or SaaS businesses over 1 million of ARR. Most of them already have a team. Like most of them have a director or multiple directors in place, certainly managers, certainly tons of frontline people. Um, they don't need me to bring a big team. They're hiring
Yeah.
me to be like their senior leader. They don't need someone for 40 hours a week, but one of my clients I do 20 hours a week for, some 15, some 10.
Yeah.
That is exactly what they're looking for. So opposite you, like I think that's I
It's
guess like
totally opposite. Like
an encouragement to everyone, like go into it with whatever thought you want to go into it with, but you won't know until you really start doing it.
totally.
Be open to that it might not be exactly as you designed.
Yeah. And like I think it's really important that we're having this conversation because so many people do want to get into freelancing. And I said this to you. I said this to you when you first started. I said that everybody can eat. Everybody
Yeah,
can eat in this
yeah,
like world. Like we don't. It's not just like I'm all the clients. Like if a client is not a fit for me, I'm gonna send them to you because like
yeah, same.
my jam. And we've even like had those combos, right?
Yeah,
Like because my jam is very much you're going to market
yeah,
or you're at growth and scale. Your jam is very enterprise. Your jam is that senior leadership. I want to build it from like
yeah,
the beginning,
yeah, yeah,
um anyway, yeah. That's just like one thing. Anybody who's like listening, thinking about, because I do have a lot of followers who are like thinking about going to freelance and CX specifically, and I think that like that's something just to really say out loud. Everybody can eat,
yeah,
and we can all take care of each other. If everybody wants to be a consultant or freelance, like there's people like we will put you in the network of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
So wait, we're not done yet. I want to spend a couple of minutes, and this is like completely switching gears, but I've just had like some really weird interactions lately about
Mhm.
AI. And you
Right.
mentioned something about like installing an AI agent.
Yeah.
And I'm just like curious. I know we've talked about it before, but I'm so curious on like what is your opinion as of late? Do you like is automation in CX making experiences better or just faster mediocrity? I
That's good.
know.
That's a good. I don't know if it'd be either of those. Yeah, this evolves a lot. I spend way too much time reading and listening about this stuff, but it is the world that we live in. A couple things recently that like I thought was very interesting that caught my ear. There was that Gartner, I think it was a Gartner report that came out. There was something like 80% of enterprise AI implementations show zero ROI. This was a study of like 1,000 like enterprise size companies. Like this was a big one.
That's
I
so
think
interesting.
yeah, it was pretty damning.
Yeah.
Um, and I think to take it to like my own personal experience with this, I I have personally experienced the sales pitches do not deliver the reality. It's not even remotely close.
Amen, brother.
So
Amen.
I hate to
Amen.
tell anyone that, but like, yeah, if you hear these pitches, like we'll automate 60% of your interactions, we'll do your whole customer engagement strategy. It just doesn't. I don't know how to tell you, but it's really difficult to verify in a demo. It's very difficult to verify in a proof of concept. And then once you go live in production with this thing, you kind of realize the back end logic of it is very evolving. It's constantly changing. The API access, the integrations, the prompts and the guidances, like this is very complex,
Yeah.
and it is not set it and forget it in any stretch of the imagination. It is not even set it for a day. It is a constant like evolving thing you have to, and you really get to a point where you've got to really evaluate like, hey, the investment that we're making into this in terms of like the people that are spending time on this, is this really returning the customer experiences that I want?
Yeah.
And so I think there are tons of amazing use cases. I use multiple forms of it every single day. I use chat every day. I use Gemini every single day. I could sit here and talk to you about like the voice of the customer applications are incredible. The reporting and analysis are incredible. But I think the application that most customer experience people probably are familiar with or being asked about is a customer facing AI tool.
Yeah.
Those are very overblown, and it doesn't mean they won't get there at some point. But today, that technology is not as good as everyone. And I'm not going to like sit here and name the names of the companies, but like
Absolutely not. Yeah.
I've personally tried to implement multiple of these tools. I've done analysis on multiple of these tools. I have access to a bunch of them. They are not automating 50, 60, 70% of anything.
No.
And if they are, the experiences just aren't great. And so I
Yeah.
think that's the other part of it, is like the metrics, the analysis of what great looks like is not even clear yet. And so that's a lot of the work actually that I feel like I've been doing lately, is just helping people set proper KPIs for the AI programs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think like even me too. Like I mean, literally everything that you're saying is like the frustrations that I've had in like recent weeks about like AI, truthfully, because I think it's like this generative AI, like everybody thinks it's going to replace people, right?
Mhm.
But it's like, in order to even get it there, that you have to create like, and I am seeing more positions, like Bruins just put out a position for
Yeah.
like a manager of AI and automation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the way to go, right? It's like to manage AI and automate in automations, but like you have a person that's
Yeah.
literally employed to do those things, because you have
You
to be
need it.
watching the robots.
Yeah.
Like you have to QA them. But a lot of these tools, exactly what you're saying, is like are out on the market and they're saying like, oh, I can do XYZ, I can do all these things, right? But then when you get down to it and you look at the automation rates, like within their self-reporting tools, that
Yeah.
might I add,
Yeah.
are like, oh, this is our automation rate, and it's these high automation rates. But then you click into that, dig deeper, and it's like, wait, that had an error rate, or wait, that conversation was ended up being sent to an agent, or you told it the wrong thing. Like you can't, or it was touched by automation, but it wasn't fully automated,
No.
right? I will say, and this, I'm not naming names on anything. I will say I've had a really positive experience with one tool though, who like in the sales conversation, we're like, yep, we can do XYZ. Did proof of concept. Like the sales cycle is taking a little bit longer for one of my
Yeah.
clients, and like we're actually able to see like a lot of like that proof of concept, but everything that they're promising in like automations and intents, they are hand in hand helping you build it, and it's written into the contract too.
Good. Good.
And it's like the timeline is said like X will be done by this week, whatever. And like
Yes.
there, I've had a very positive experience about that. But one of the last thought I have about it too is like when I was at Feastables, I did build a really robust like AI bot. It's just not generative AI.
Yeah.
You had to build out the flows. You had to say, if it
Yeah.
they say yes, you go here, and if you do
Yeah.
this, you have to go here. And that's actually the way that I miss the
Yeah.
fact that like a lot of these tools, you have to prompt them and you have to type it in and like
Yeah.
do all the things, but like being able to see a visual map is way easier for like a CX manager or director who has no time to sit here and manage like that tool, right? Like a visual map of it can like help them easily assess like what's broken, rather than like going through an automation being like one sentence is broken, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's like one of the things is lost is everyone wants to use Gen AI for everything, but there are a lot of still great use cases for just regular old automation. To your point, like if this then that scenarios.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like super bullish on it. I think it's gonna be great. I mean, there are times where it's really impressive how much scale it has, but there are just way more times where it's really kind of disappointing at how easy it is to fail, to your point, because the prompts drive the majority of it. Majority of the technology is like text-based prompts, maybe a little bit of smart prompts, but yeah, it still has a long way to go. But just for the listeners, if anyone wants the list of the good ones, I do feel like probably between Jess and I, we have a list of the good ones that if you want introductions to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really, and I think that's another part that's really hard. And this is probably also what's diluting the market is there are so many companies, they all basically have the same sales pitch. They all somewhat seem like they offer the same feature set. And so has anyone compare like this one versus that one? And so it's just really difficult to know who's going to be the main players in the market.
Yeah, I know. I mean, AI is just everywhere. Somebody like tagged me in a comment. They were like, "What's your thoughts?" And it was like a post about bringing human agents back, right? It was like something like that. And I was like, well, let me tell you, hashtag bring like real human agents back. Like I think they were like surprised that
Yeah.
I like, that I didn't have
Yeah,
like,
there's, I mean, a bunch of splashy stories like Klarna, Klarna made all the noise 3 years ago when they said they had basically like eliminated 700 customer support agents through their AI
dude,
tool.
yeah.
And now they're, I think they had basically completely retracted that as of 6 months ago. Again, this is
be
just,
out here bragging.
this is just where, and I think this is probably where most of my frustration exists is like I think if you're reading a claim that is making you worry, if you work in the customer experience, if you're reading a claim that makes you worried, I would strongly encourage you to think about the incentives that the person who's making those claims have, particularly if they're from AI companies, because what is their incentive? Their incentive is certainly to like tell everyone that you can replace your 20-person customer support team with this one AI agent for $50 a month.
Yeah.
Look at the incentives that people have when they're making these claims. Even if it doesn't seem like they work at an AI company, there's probably some incentive there behind it for them to promote a certain narrative. But I think it's just really discouraging because I think it's kind of making it feel like it's the humans versus the robots, and particularly in the customer experience space. And it's like it's not. It's that we're actually like all on board for this. Like none of us want to be answering password reset questions all day. But please don't also act like it can do these highly complex, multi-step, highly integrated action.
Mm-hmm.
It can answer text-based things very good. Yes, if you give it a knowledge base, if you give it a help center, if you give it a bunch of prompts, it can answer text-based questions really well. But it cannot, like definitively cannot do highly complex, highly integrated, multi-action steps. They don't do that.
I mean, absolutely. And a lot of these companies will tell you it can all day long, but
sure.
I'm going to tell you, I have seen some things. I have been to war and back, my friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, well, it's late here on the East Coast.
Yes.
I'm only visiting, but I appreciate you, Michael.
Oh, thanks.
For
this was fun.
Joining me. I love you so much. Thank you for just being a bad bitch. Well, you're not a bitch, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Dude, a baddie. You're still a baddie, babe. Yeah, and anybody tuning in, if you want to hear the replay, we will be posting this on Above the Fold this Thursday at 5 a.m. Eastern. Just check us out on Spotify. And lastly, sorry, it is getting late in my day. Michael, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm on LinkedIn, Michael J. Bair, not Blair. Everyone likes to put an L in there. And then my website is bairconsulting.co.
He's a baddie. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Good night, Jess.
I'll talk to you later.